It's only rock and roll, but I like it. Hi, I'm Charles Cicirella. I'll read you some poetry. I took a shower. It's always a big production. Maybe it's the thought of getting wet. Or maybe I don't believe I deserve to be clean. I find myself channeling the aliens left of center and beyond. Rediscovering parts of a me I believe I had lost hold of centuries ago. Yes, it's time to go back around the bend and try and do my best to forget when I had the bends and thought I was going to die in paradise. You must know what it's like to feel like the sky is falling and even Chicken Little stopped talking to you. I don't have time to iron out this language before the doorbell rings and my best self shows up at the door, ready to go another 15 rounds. Sit down at the piano or the typewriter and compose something you're proud of before the Pope arrives in his Pope-mobile and shuns you for some papal bullshit you'll never quite understand. The printer is crapped out. I hate when that happens. Like I hate when you stop writing me love letters and I'm left with just a bar of soap and a rubber ducky that refuses to look me in the third eye. Squid. Listening to his music. It surrounds me like a Kurosawa film. Subtitles are not necessary when the subtext is dialed up to 11. We've been friends since I was 18. 30 years of non-stop broken pomp and circumcised circumstance. Met in a basement on Fairway when Jim and Roxanne were still on the same side. He knocks it out of the park most times with very little effort because he's like Burl Ives on acid. The only one at the party willing to stop having fun and drive you home. We broke the speed of sound by spoon-feeding each other nothing but bites of reality. Jimbo introduced me to him like I was meeting the Queen of England. He knew Squid's medicine cut deep and would drag you to places you were unfamiliar with. I've never held his hand, but I bet it's warm and squishy, like his developing underbelly. There was a dance party, and everyone of any stature was invited. Of course, me and Nudge, we were not allowed in the door. We said fuck it, and we went to the Doob. We had burgers. We created our own clique. Listening to his music reminds me of the frozen grass I ran through when I was just a freckled embryo. Collaborating with him never fails to blow up my world and toss me into the fire like a lamb being led to the Euro Palace. I just feel so fucking empty. Nothing makes sense. Nothing at all. We hold hands. She apologizes. It breaks my heart. She's my mother. It gets me like nobody else. And I understand her when no one thinks she's making sense. An untenable situation, made even more tenuous, because life is complicated, and our health mustn't be trifled with. Her friends say all the wrong things. They ask me how I let her get in this condition, or that the dynamic between my mother and me is unpleasant to be around. One friend, one friend even suggested I committed her. This fight for my mother's well-being is a fight only she can fight, because even her son can only do so much before standing to one side, praying she will start eating so she can regain her strength. Nothing goes down easy. Not the parade food, nor the beef broth. I tell one of the staff she needs an IV. No one bothers to listen to me. My mother is slipping away. I wrote that on October 1st, and on October 19th, my mother passed away. Broke down. If I'm to believe art has no value, then I best just roll myself up in a tight ball, forgetting who I am and why I'm here. The words have been pouring from my hands since I was 14 and wrote my first poem. I didn't even know what it was, but it felt right. I'm never tired channeling lost horizons, even as I wait for a Jewish booty call that will never come. Not complaining about your unwillingness to commit. I wonder if all patron saints are black and squishy. Never did I feel less like playing bocce ball. Sitting in that library was excruciating. Don't be fooled or led astray by my unrelenting self-confidence. Everything comes with a price tag, no matter if you see it or not. Don't ask how much that doggy is in the window, unless you're willing to pick up its poop. I love coconut cream pie. Pie, defrosting in fridge, makes me happy. Can't wait to dive in. My mother's still in a nursing home. Makes me sad. Not sure how to process these feelings. I'm still not sure how to process these feelings. You want a slice of reality? Well, pull up a mushroom. I love coconut cream pie. I wish I had a big honking slice right now with a cup of coffee. Bread's playing. I remember when my mother would sing along with David Gates in the car on the way to Bayreuth. Pie's about ready to be sliced into like a body on the examination table. Finding a nursing home that won't do my mother harm is an insurmountable task. About ready to bring her home like Ted Danson did with Jack Lemmon and Dad. About to get a butter knife and check the status of our thawing out patient. When I said to Marilyn, I can't do this, she said, you're already doing it. And she couldn't have been more right. Sometimes, even the best you got isn't good enough. Sometimes even the best you got isn't enough to change course and head away from death. This poem's for Katie Boyd. Writing her poetry always makes me feel better. I hate Facebook, but Katie is one of the people, and there are definitely several who I have met on Facebook who I'm so glad to have made their acquaintance. I hope Katie likes my hat. She turns me on, and I've never even met her face to face. I wonder if I turn her on and if she likes my face. My consonants and vowels desire to climb inside and take up permanent residence. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not fall in love with the first cute office worker with a Glasgow accent we meet. Let's not declare ourselves incompetent until our competency is tested thoroughly. Breaking beneath the pressure of her afternoon matinee smiles, walking along the breakwater with nothing but our wits to protect us. Katie somehow keeps me calm by doing nothing as everything comes our way. I wonder if intellect impresses her more than athletic prowess. Does she feel more comfortable left to her own devices, or welcoming the occasional nudge or wink from the eye of Horace? Is a library or coffee house more to her liking? Or does she prefer being put through her paces in the middle of the night as her music plays and cities burn all around her? Shutting down is oftentimes the only way to uncover the missing pieces of our autumnal minds. When I saw her standing there with nothing on but her wheel of fortune jammies, I knew I was in for the ride of my red wheelbarrow life. She's every season wrapped up in a magnificent hillock of sugar and spice and all things nice. I want a turkey sandwich. I actually had one earlier. Since writing the title of this poem, I've eaten a turkey sandwich and wish I hadn't. Since writing the title of this poem, I've left a couple of messages on the voicemail of someone who clearly wants nothing to do with me. Since writing the title of this poem, Christmas creeps ever closer, and I wish it would keep its red and green paws off of my disassembled well-being. Since writing the title of this poem, I've yet to take a shower or change my clothes, because the feeling of paralysis, it isn't going anywhere. Since writing the title of this poem, my brother has demanded I pay rent if I'm going to stay in my mother's condo while her estate is probated. Since writing the title of this poem, I've decided to give my sister the clock that's caused so much consternation. Since writing the title of this poem, I've applied hemorrhoid ointment numerous times to my rectum in hopes that this scratchy sensation will once and for all dissipate. It was like 96, I think. Maybe it was 97, probably 96. And I went to a Barnes & Noble to see Allen Ginsberg read. And I didn't have the money to buy his book, but I got in line and I wanted to hand him one of my collections of poetry. And he like rifled through it really quickly. And he caught the title, Poem About My Asshole. Then he looked right at me and he said, I have a poem about my asshole. That's my Allen Ginsberg story. This wound is not infected. It's waiting to strike. It's waiting for the spoiled miracle to come. Disheveled, fragmented Madonna, mother of a god that never quite knew what to make of its creations. You want to feel sanctimonious? Learn to reject the philosophy of broken promises. I never was of much good at reading between the lines, because the lines are always acting out of their own self-interest. The golden rule, just another false idol, teetering on extinction or martyrdom. This stigmata made to order. The kind of heavenly room service you'll never get your hellacious mind around. Some wounds never heal. They just fester until holding a grudge launches a new religion. God strikes back, just like mortals. Only difference is, when a god strikes back, entire solar systems are swallowed whole. How would you like to discover you've been praying to a black hole that's never it's never considered your happiness for one solitary second? This wound doesn't believe in forgiving or forgetting. It's waiting to pounce. It's waiting to take your milk money, and the cow moo along with it. The final solution is every man, woman, and child's worst nightmare. Subjecting everyone to a bullet to the brain or noxious fumes to divide and conquer us. Kronos has been laughing at us ever since the world began, because he knew we'd be he knew we'd be betrayed by our own selfish desires to become immortal or die trying. He knew. This poem's for Dennis, across the barren fields. Let's lose ourselves in the matrimony of otherness, a great feat breaking us onto the beaches of Normandy. The card catalog said I'd already been checked out, but I chose not to believe it. Even when we know we're going to come up short, perseverance is key. The highway, it's laid out before us like a cow's tongue or ribbon of abject darkness. It was in Mississippi that standing at the crossroads finally made some sense to me. Futile. Resistance is futile, especially with a thumb in your eye. I fell in love with her vowels before realizing how inconsistent her consonants were. There's nothing wrong with a lack of education, as long as you're willing to make it up in summer school. We believed the end of the world was advancing, so we removed our pants. We ran through the emptying streets like flashing lights, or Maisel's Bible salesman. Her wetness reminded me I best decide to either sink or swim before I drowned. We best share our stories of sickness instead of ridiculing what we don't understand. Let's rediscover Dennis, the noiselessness of another 78 shellac listening party. Tunnel to the center of the earth with nothing but our fingers as our guideposts. Take me back, take me way, way back. You traded punches with a champ before realizing you were the champ, and beating yourself up is only holding you back from your own unparalleled greatness. This is the last poem I'm going to read. It's entitled, I Sat on the Toilet and Cried. Adjust my hat, sneaking off my head. It was a catharsis. I didn't have to light a match when I was finished. Now that we know each other better, we can break through the white noise together. I just farted. Sounded like a mallard with Asperger's or a rabbi playing the kazoo. It doesn't much matter, because when I'm done, I will have offended everyone, and the room will be as barren as Mother Mary after the crucifixion. I thought I had landed a big one until I reeled it in, only to realize it wasn't even a minnow. I bet when Geppetto went fishing and used Pinocchio as bait, all the fish came running to see what the puppet, who wanted to be a real boy, was up to. I often wonder if I were a real poet, if anyone would come running, and if suicide would even include me as one of its statistics. Afraid of worms, so forget about burial. And I've been afraid of fire since an unfortunate s'mores incident, so cremation is also out of the question. Surprise me with what you'll do with my remains once I'm good and dead, and no one is left sitting shiva, and the ink is dried on the ravenous laptop screen. So tired of breaking bread with imaginary friends. I wish just one human would break fast with me so I could once and for all forgive myself for all these Gentile sins. It was a catharsis, crying on the toilet, because it's the only place I find myself truly inspired. True story. It took about a week to find a transport chair that would fit into the bathroom. And when I did, my mother wasn't even impressed because even moving heaven and earth was not nearly enough to get anything resembling approval from her. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. My name is Charles Cicirella. Thank you.